like in a 10-minute span, it went from me like laughing to crying to shaking to laughing to like, did I hit him? And then I'm like, no, that was a great shot. And then I'm like, I didn't even hit him. Like I heard him crash too. But between my first and second year, I think I've picked up so much. It only makes me more excited for like the years to come. Where in every single like branch you think it's a deer and then it's a squirrel. It's like by the end of the season, I was like, yes, absolutely, we're hunting squirrel. Like they're gone. Like I will get every single last one. So I just can't imagine if I would have kept living my like knowing that hunting is out here, like not being able to experience it. Like,
all right, guys, welcome back to Mark of All Trades. So today we got a special guest, Elizabeth Brownell, and I just want to give a quick introduction to you, and if you just want to tell a little bit about yourself, that'd be cool.
Yep. I'm Elizabeth. I'm 25. I run the account Rookie Hunting right now, and basically started that to document and kind of articulate for people who haven't hunted before or like, didn't grow up with family hunting, because that was the case with me. And once I fell in love with it, I knew I couldn't be the only young adult or adult that started kind of out of nowhere and just like dove into it. So that's kind of what I've been doing right now.
Nice, nice. And what made you want to get into that? Like you said, your family didn't hunt, so what was that?
Yeah, like I didn't have any. Yeah, I didn't have any like friends that hunted. I didn't have any like family that hunted. Like I'm from Virginia, born and raised, so where I grew up in Fredericksburg, like it's not like the country or anything. It's like that you have like the country next to it. So it's like I knew it was like around like high school. You have all like the trucks like parks and everyone's wearing camo. So it's like
Yeah.
I knew it was a thing. I just like personally like after COVID had started, I was kind of just interested like so I used to like pursue veganism like that to me a lifestyle I wanted to live just for the sustainability aspect and definitely like animal cruelty like that was kind of what that's what was important to me when COVID happened. I didn't know how kind of it was going to be with grocery stores. Like I don't know how it was where you are, but it was sketchy at like a certain point. So I figured I would just start like reintroducing meat into my diet, and then I kind of just never went back. But it was kind of over the summer before like fall of 2020. I asked, just a friend, I was like, hey, like you hunt, can I just go and watch? I was like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to like kill anything. I just literally like the only thing I wanted to learn was how people get meat from the animal. Like that just seemed like such a bizarre concept to me. Like you have like an animal that just died and now you have to get it, and now you have to process it. And like, woods to table, what does that look like? And so he did, he took me, and I thought I was gonna like cry the whole time. Like I thought I was just absolutely gonna hate everything about it. And I ended up just like my mind was just blown. Like I loved everything about it. Like it was just such a rewarding experience to even just witness and be a part of. So I immediately went home and I bought a license and everything. And I'm gonna try to do it. Like, can I do it? Is it something I'm capable of?
Yeah, wow. How many times did it take you guys before you harvested something? Like, did you have to sit like a couple hunts or like...
It was actually that first time. It was like we were hunting, which doesn't that's not normal like in Virginia at all, but it was on private, and they already had like the stand set up, but it was we were hunting like the woods in front of like crops to our left and then food plots to our right. So there were a couple doe that were a little too far away. It was during archery and he was using a crossbow. So it's kind of it actually ended up being a button buck. So like they literally like both of them just let me gut it and like walked me through like every single step. And that was just really surreal, like watching an animal that's alive, seeing it like run off into the woods, tracking it later, and then yeah, like everything from there.
That's awesome. Most people can't really like deep dive into it like that. Usually it's like baby steps, and that's awesome that you can do that. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So how did that
Yeah.
transition into you hunting?
So from there, so that was last year, and I was lucky enough to where I was working for work, like teleworking. So I'm not with that company now. So I can honestly say like I would clock my hours, but I was just in the woods. Like it wasn't like I was hunting a lot. So or like I remember I'd be in like the woods and I would literally like I'm like, oh my God, I have a telecon in like an hour. Like I kind of gotta get going. So like call me and I'm like, nope, like sorry, I'm busy. So I was really lucky. I hunted a lot on my first year, but it was all on private with my friend and his friend, and they own land. So I got to go with his wife as well. And I kind of just kept going with them. And then I think I sat by myself like 3 times last year. And that was usually, I never hunted like during the archery season. I only did muzzleloader and shotgun. So that was like my first year.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
And like, I know like kind of like looking through your Instagram and stuff and things like that. You said that like every hunt you're trying to like learn something different, even if you don't see anything.
Mhm.
And like, what would you
Yeah.
say would be like the biggest takeaway from your first year of hunting?
My first year, although it was such like it definitely I mean, everything took me by surprise, right? Like experiencing all those firsts, like as an adult too, like I think I just kept thinking like, oh my gosh, like I can't imagine if I was 7 and like this was happening to me right now. Like what would I be doing? Like how would I even like process what like the emotions I'm feeling? Like um my first year though, because it was all on private and I was like hunting with, friends who had like stands and I was using their weapons, like I never really had to I knew immediately because of all those factors, like, oh, I need to become so like aware of what I'm doing and I need to get my equipment right and I need to learn as much as I can because I knew in the second year, like which is the fall season I just finished, I knew that I wanted to hunt on my own time and I wanted to hunt like, just by myself. I wanted to learn how to do that. So like going from private to public was a huge shift. And there's just so much more that goes into it. And it's, between my first and second year, I think I've picked up so much. It only makes me more excited for like the years to come.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So, did you get a deer your first year that you hunted by
Yeah.
yourself?
By myself, no, but I was able to harvested a doe during muzzleloader, and then I mean that was I mean so I don't count it, but I know some people I talk to they're like no that counts. But the first like deer I actually shot, my buddy took the initial shot, and when we tracked him, he was still alive, so he was like 10 yards away. And my buddy was going to take the second shot, but I was like, "Hey, like I've never actually shot a muzzleloader. Like, can I try it?" And they were both like, they turned around and they're like, you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. So I don't count that. I mean, yeah, like I tagged them, but like I wouldn't say that was my first year. I mean, it kind of is, but the initial shot is a big thing. So it's like, I don't really count it, but kind of. But that doe, yeah, that was all me. So that was great. And then this year, I went into it knowing like I want a buck. Like that was my number one goal. And so to be able to do that on opening day was absolutely insane. It's like the coolest thing that's probably will ever happen to me.
That's pretty awesome. So, could you tell us about both stories? Could you tell us about the doe and the buck?
From this season or last?
Did you? I'm sorry, the buck story. You just told us the doe story, but like the buck
Yeah.
story.
So the buck, I had scouted that spot on a piece of public like literally the 2 weeks before. Like it wasn't like I knew, I've been walking a lot, but I was like, this seems like it seems right. Like it seems like this is where I should be kind of thing. And so I basically, yeah, like opening day, I ended up going with my boyfriend and he set up kind of that was the closest we've ever sat next to each other and he was filming. Um, and so the buck walked out maybe 70 yards away to my left. And like everything from when I first saw him, and it was only like 7:30 either, like I hadn't been sitting there long. Like everything that happened, like he just played his part like perfect. He walked out at 70 yards and then kind of just like parallel, like just kept walking until he was 15 yards in front of me, like in a clearing, like between like trees. And I remember there was like a branch just right in front of me. So I'm trying to like lower myself so I can like actually like, because I was seeing brown in the scope of the crossbow, but like I couldn't really tell what was the branch and what was his body.
Right.
So like he's already looking at me, like already made a doe call. So like he knows like he's looking right at me, but I was like trying to like just taking my time, like trying to lower. So and he just, stayed there looking at me and I took the shot. And it was crazy because like, I mean, it's just crazy, like the emotions that come with hunting and like to begin with. Like in a 10-minute span, it went from me like laughing to crying to shaking to laughing to like, did I hit him? And then I'm like, no, that was a great shot. And then I'm like, I didn't even hit him. Like I heard him crash too. But like I'm just so hyped up that like I actually hit him? Like I don't know. Like it was a lot going on. So he dropped like 40 yards away and into a thicket. So like I would have been able to see him from my tree, but I couldn't really. But the track drop was like super easy. He was literally right there. So
Jeez, that's
um, I thought he was tiny too. Like I was prepared to shoot anything that morning. Like I was like, oh, Daddy Joe, like I'm ready. Like I was ready for anything. So I remember I told my boyfriend, I was like, oh man, he was tiny, and he was like, no, he wasn't. And I was like, yeah, he was tiny. Like I don't even like, was he a spike? And he was like, no, like he might have been a 6. When he was an 8, I was like, my mind was absolutely blown. Like I just kept crying and kept crying. And a lot of the following I have right now, like on my social media, is because I posted the video of me crying, and people were just a little heated about it, like confused as to why I was crying. But so much adrenaline and just so much emotion. Like I've been thinking about that moment for a full year. So for it to happen the way it did, and it was like a perfect heart shot, like literally just everything in that moment was perfect. And it was opening day. It was my first harvest on public land. It was buck, which I was gonna mount probably a 4 point if it was my first buck. Like, so the fact that it was an 8, like it just everything was crazy. Like, I think this is why it's an addiction. Like
for sure.
telling people about it, like I get hyped up again. And I think that's why people get hooked into it, because like I just can't imagine if I would have kept living my like knowing that hunting is out here, like not being able to experience it. Like it is truly an obsession. Like it's a passion. And like I love to talk to people about it, because like my view on hunting, 5 years ago, completely different. Like, and so I know like hunters do get a lot of hate, and I can see both, because like I did used to be on the other side. And I tell people all the time, like until you actually hunt, like until you experience what it's like you're not going to understand it. And that's, you can't really make someone understand it, because like it really is like you have to be in the driver's seat to like really know like what it feels like.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So there's a lot in that story. So there's a couple follow-up questions. So like, I know you said your boyfriend was videotaping. Did he get the shot on tape?
He did. And then I went on travel for work for like 2 weeks back to back. And it went from like Norfolk to San Diego. And I lost the SD card
Oh,
going from Norfolk to San Diego. So like when I like actually like made sure that I like did not have it, it wasn't, and I was like, I can't believe I did that. Like that was like probably the most important footage of my life. Yep.
so with that, I know you said that you would mount like a 4 point and things like that. Did you end up getting it mounted?
I did, yeah. Yep. So actually the buddy I started hunting with last year, like his family owns a taxidermy shop. So I knew immediately where I was going to take it. And I always remembered him talking about people bringing in bucks like to get mounted, but they had always messed up like the cape. And so like I called him immediately. Obviously, he was one of the first calls anyway. I was like, hey, like this is going on my wall. Like this is a nice buck. Like, and it's my first one. So I was like, this is going on my wall. I was like, how do I even cape it? Because I didn't want to like take off, like not leave enough skin and then they could do it. So
Yeah.
they were actually just like, you know what, just bring it in. We'll just hang it up here and do it for you and show you how to do it. So that's what happened. And I literally was like, how much is the mount? Because like I didn't really know. And he's like, oh, it's like 600. And I was like, oh my gosh, like all right. So I was like, I had to pay half up front, was like, okay, like swipe it, done. But I literally went on Instagram and I was like, who wants to help me pay for my mount? So I got about like $160
Oh, that's awesome. That's
from
super
people
cool.
like sending me money on, yeah, on Instagram. So some
Wow.
great followers for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know that you said that you were talking about how you were crying and stuff. Did you get any backlash from that?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah,
Mostly on TikTok. I feel like Instagram people are really nice, and then TikTok people are like, I don't know, pretty mean.
a little bit different.
Yeah, a lot of it was just like, when like, and I'm gonna say like, obviously hunting is a male dominated, thing. So I feel like you see a lot of like men like, killing big bucks and just being like amped for it. But like, I think for me, it was just like, it's a moment you dream of. And I never thought it would actually happen, and definitely not as perfect as it did. So, buck fever is real. It's so real. And I mean, yeah. I mean, I couldn't have fought the tears if I wanted to. Like, I just was bawling my eyes out. Like, when I actually saw his rack too, and I was like holding him there, like sobbing, like completely sobbing. I was a mess. Like, I was just so happy. Like, it's hard to describe.
For sure, absolutely. And I'm sure like it wasn't just like a fluke. Like I'm sure you were scouting and everything during the summertime, and like you put in all the hard work, and it finally. I mean, it's super cool that it paid off the first hunt. Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
It was definitely like I remember kind of thinking like after like getting home that day, I was like, "Oh man, like that might have not been the best the best thing to happen to me, but I could see how like starting your season on such a high, it was kind of tough like going through the season, and I'm like putting in work, like just hours and like not seeing anything or like seeing a bunch. But I hunted majority archery like the whole season almost. So there were a lot of like deer I saw that I just didn't have a shot where I would have had a shot with a gun. So like I'm just trying not to down on myself, but it's like I just started the season on such a high that it's like a weird thing to like try not to get like not disappointed or frustrated. But in Virginia too, like you're given 6 tags. So it's like I'm like, oh, like I can, you can shoot 2 more antlered. You've 3 either, and then 3 doe only. So to me, I'm like, starting off on a high, like it's amazing, but it definitely is a little tough when like, it's not happening for you. It's not working out for you. So
yeah,
that
absolutely.
was different as well. I got to experience like the opposite of my first year. So
Hmm. Yeah, that's super cool. How did you like the transition from? I know you said your first year you did mostly firearms, and then the second year you did archery. I know you said you could have taken a couple shots if you would have had a gun or things like that. But does that make you want to stick to archery or?
so I guess so last year, um I love muzzleloader, I do, and so I knew I was gonna buy one, because again, I wanted to hunt on my own, so I did buy a muzzleloader, and then I bought used because I didn't really know how I was gonna feel about archery, but, I found a bow and a crossbow, and
Okay.
they were both, like, really good priced, like, together, so I was like, "Oh, I'll just buy both of them, and then it's like I'll use my crossbow until I'm ready to use my compound." So I knew this fall I was gonna just use my crossbow. Like the most important thing to me is to be as ethical as possible. So like where you can just pick up a gun and a crossbow for the most part, and you don't have to put that much work into it to like practicing. Like I knew my compound, like the animals deserve so much more respect from me to just like pick up a compound and think that I can like take a shot like that. So I knew I wasn't going to use my compound like this fall, and that is the goal to use it next fall. The reason ended up hunting majority archery is because I moved. I bought a house on my own in May, and I didn't even think about it. I was leaving a county that had 5 units of public land, and I moved somewhere that has 0. So I was immediately like, "Oh God, what did I do?" Like, I only bought an acre, so I can't hunt here, and it's like, so I just started looking and looking, and I actually found federal land that's like incredibly close to where I live. Like I was driving maybe like an hour and 20 minutes to go hunt public, which is okay for like an afternoon hunt, but
Mhm.
definitely the mornings was like, it was rough.
Yeah.
So I found federal land that's super close to me, and it's archery only,
Okay.
which honestly is better because I don't know where you live, but like here it was like empty. Like all three units that are archery only were like fairly empty because it's like check in, check out system. So like I could see who else was there, and it like there was rarely, a couple other people.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, so like I got really lucky. But getting used to that was just different. Like, putting yourself in, and I'm trying to trust my instinct of like, oh, I think this is a good tree. I think, I know they're bedding over here. Like, this is a good food source. Like, this is all the stuff I never did my first year. So it's like I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to pick it up. And even just finding like sign, like the amount of sign I was finding, I'm like, oh my gosh, like there are a lot of deer here. It's just like heavy, heavy trails like everywhere, which is amazing, right? And I'm trying to find the best tree. And also keeping in mind, like I'm not using a gun, like I am using a crossbow. So it's like
Right.
it was different. But next year, yeah, I'm going to be hunting all the same federal land, and yeah, probably using my compound majority of that time.
Nice.
I took out my muzzle litter maybe like twice, maybe three times, and that was me driving to that public land that's like an hour 20 away. So
I got you.
um, yeah, I was kind of chuckling. I was like, I guess I didn't have to buy the muzzle loader. Like, I didn't really, but I do like muzzle loader. Shotgun's like not really my preferred firearm for deer. But I got a new shotgun as well, so I went out like twice with that. So
Nice. That's pretty cool. So when you're hunting like these public and federal lands and things like that, what are you using to get into the tree? Like, are you using like a lock on? Are you saddle hunting?
um, yeah, so I'm using a self climber. So I knew I was going to be hunting all public, so I knew I needed something that was versatile and that I could move it when I needed to, and carry it like great lengths if I am walking like deep into public.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not that big of a person, so like my biggest concern was like, am I even going to be able to like hike out with this thing on my back? So I got the Summit Mini Viper, which is like their lightest one,
Okay.
and it is pretty light. But even with that, like I had a hard time. Just like again, like it's just like I would have to take breaks. Like it's a lot. It is a lot of weight on your back, and also carrying everything out. So
Yeah.
even that, I can't imagine hunting with my compound in the self climber though. Like I'm not sure how people do that, and I do want to get into self filming as well. So I am looking to make the move to a saddle. But right now I'm just like watching podcasts and like taking notes because I have no idea like where to start, and I don't necessarily want to drop the money on a product that I'm not, 100% happy with.
That's true.
Do you saddle hunt or?
Yeah, I got into it probably like 4 years ago, like when Tethered
Okay.
first like came out with everything, and
Yeah.
like they were like the only saddle on the market, and I got into that, and like I'm not gonna lie, like it was a game changer because again, you're not having to
Yeah.
carry all that stuff on your back, and you're quieter and everything else, and
It's so loud. And I hadn't really heard anyone say that like a self climber is loud. So like setting that up and like you're especially on public, I want to be considerate. Like I don't know who's around me. Like setting that up is kind of difficult when like they're loud. It is what it is. But no one had ever told me that. And so when people about saddles, like that's definitely the first thing they say. Like it is so much quieter.
yeah, yeah. I think like one of the things that scares me actually with the climbers is I know you're supposed to tie like a piece of rope to the top and to the bottom so that it doesn't. I'm just scared
Yeah.
that the bottom's just gonna kick out and I'm gonna be stuck
Yeah.
there, and I shouldn't have that mentality, but that's just the way that I do, and I'm like, that's I don't want to be
Yeah.
stuck out there. But has that happened to you, or are
Yeah.
you pretty cognizant?
So I bought like a little not like a rope, but like it's almost like a bungee kind of cord that clips onto both. So like I knew that was there in case that happened. That didn't really happen though. Like, and I think I only like slipped like maybe twice throughout the whole season. Like it was definitely nerve wracking at first, but I'm like naturally like I'm afraid of heights. And so think it was the self climber so much as me being like, I have to get down now. Like, I wasn't expecting like kind of the like I'm glad I'm like fit because like like you're kind of trying to like it's just a bunch of ab workouts honestly, like a self climber, it's all it is. So I remember the first day after I'd used a self climber for the first time, I was like touching my abs. I was like, why am I sore? Like I didn't even work out, but like it really is like it's just picking yourself up.
So how high do you think that you go up on the tree? Like how high are you hunting?
I would usually go like 25. I don't think I ever went higher than that.
That's pretty good for being afraid of heights. That's pretty awesome.
I mean, yeah, like I'm just like I guess I'm a really paranoid person too. So like I never wanted to be too low where I'm like, oh my God, like the deer can see me.
Yeah, for sure. And then are you like cognizant about like scent control and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea that was a thing. Like the first, the very first time I went hunting, like he had texted me the night before at like I think it was like midnight or like 11 p.m. Like, hey, by the way, like, don't wash your clothes and like any detergent. Don't wear deodorant. Don't wear perfume. Don't wear shampoo that's like anything. Don't wear makeup. Don't. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what? What do you mean I can't do all of these things? Like, I had no idea. So, that night, like before I went hunting for the first time, was absolutely insane because like all my stuff scented. Like I'm a girl. Like everything smells like flowers, and like I'm just like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? So yeah, I absolutely practice scent control. Like I'm very paranoid about that. Hunting like the wind was something I was trying to like pick up this season. That was a lot harder than I thought. Like I would think I'd have it down. I'm like, okay, like the wind's, blowing this way. It's like towards my back. And then like I would double check like halfway through like the sit. And now it's going the other direction. I'm like, wait, like I thought I had it, but I guess I didn't. So that's definitely difficult and something I'm still trying to pick up.
For sure, absolutely. Like, do you use like the scent control clothes and stuff, or do you use like a spray? Like,
So I have scent control literally like shampoo, conditioner, like lotion, chapstick, like spray, foam too, which I highly recommend. Like if you're like a woman like that does hunt with makeup, like it's really easy just like put on top. But and then I also use I don't use any like the scent lock clothes, but I do have one of their duffels. So like all my hunting stuff goes in there and then I just take that and then I change like when I'm out there.
okay, yeah, that's awesome. And have you seen a difference in like the amount of deer that you see?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say just because like my first year is just so different to my second year. Like my first year was definitely hunting like all like ag fields and like stands that had been there, and I didn't have to like actually like seek deer. Like it was just like, hey, you're sitting here today kind of thing. So I don't know, it's hard to tell. Like I did see so many more deer this year, but that could have been just a number of factors, like just down to the location. So
Sure. Do you do any other kind of hunting other than like whitetail stuff?
so basically after I fell in love with like whitetail, I was like, what else is out there? Because like I've obviously I was so wrong about this one thing, right? So like, what else am I wrong about? And I remember even thinking in the fall, I was like, nah, I'd still hate fishing. Like, it seems super boring. And then I fished. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. So it's like, yeah, like that, was such a change for me. And then I did hunt squirrel twice. And that again, I remember like, early season last year, I'm like, no, like my buddy asked me, he was like, would you want to hunt squirrel? And I was like, oh my gosh, no, like they're like tiny little babies. Like, why would I do that? And then like towards the end of the season where like it's just squirrels everywhere in every single like branch, you think it's a deer and then it's a squirrel. It's like by the end of the season, I was like, yes, absolutely, we're hunting squirrel. Like they're gone. Like I will get every single last one. So that was definitely a lot more fun than I thought it would be. I was using like a 22 last year, but this year I got judo tips. So I'm going to take my compound out and just kind of use that as like extra practice with like cheaper arrows. So definitely I'm going to hunt squirrel again. And then last spring I hunted turkey. I wasn't able to successfully harvest a turkey, but I do credit just the spring gobbler season last year, to how I was able to get so comfortable on public, because like the amount of miles and like time I was putting in on public for the first time, like turkey season definitely got me more comfortable, and like with running into other hunters and like kind of the hunter etiquette, I feel like that season was a game changer for me for public land. So besides that though, like I just started hunting waterfowl, which that, oh my gosh, like absolutely mind blowing. Whereas like deer, I kind of picture that as like it's a therapeutic thing, like you're sitting by yourself with your own thoughts, like in the woods. I feel like waterfowl is just like a party. It's just like a social, like it's just so much fun. And like I know people hunt waterfowl by themselves, but like the social aspect is like it's something I don't necessarily want during whitetail, but it's so nice to it's just fun. It's like so much fun. Like I've never thought, but like freezing my ass off in a boat with like just friends and like just shooting birds, like it is fun. Like so I'm definitely, everyone keeps asking me, they're like, which one do you like better? And I'm like, absolutely not. Like whitetail will forever like have heart. But it is fun getting another game, and there's so much more I still like need to experience. Like I want to hunt goose, I want to get into quail and like upland bird too. And so I'm definitely just trying to like take my time and definitely use social media like as an opportunity to hunt like new game as well.
Yeah, for sure. Those are all good goals. That's awesome. That's cool that like you have like that, that network with you that you can go and try all these different things. That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. So like if you were to talk to somebody that was brand new, didn't know anything about hunting, what would your advice be to them to get them into hunting?
I would say like first and foremost, look at your DNR or like DWR, whatever your state calls it, like your Department of Wildlife Resources. Like look at everything they have to offer you as far as like literally like restrictions, game, seasons. Read everything you can. And usually you'll find like a program where they are trying to encourage like new hunters. So usually it'll be like an apprentice license. It's cheaper, and in some cases like you'll hunt with someone who actually has a license. If you can't find someone who hunts though, like there are programs that they will take you, like the Department of what, like actual DNR will take you with like they have experienced hunters like lined up, like ready to take you into the woods with like everything you need. So I think that is like a huge resource. Like I didn't even know that. Like I met a friend on Instagram, Caitlin. We ended up scouting for the first time. So like at this point, like I'm still afraid to go on public land. Like so I felt so comfortable like meeting up with her and being able to do that. Um, but that's how she got into hunting, like through Maryland. She went on a hunt where it was literally just her and like an experienced hunter like in the woods, and like he was basically just teaching her and like educating her, and like she was able to harvest her first year. So it's like
Wow.
there are programs like that. I would say first and foremost like look at that, because I think otherwise like I went to like YouTube and like Eater and the hunting public, and that's how I was trying to do it. But I will say it's like just such a overwhelming amount of knowledge, and a lot of the stuff that is geared towards like rookie hunters, like new hunters. It's hard to follow if like you are new. And what I mean by that is like I can sit here and talk about hunting and say this is for beginners, but if there are like multiple words in one sentence that a new hunter like wouldn't know, like they're not going to understand like through context. Like you're just, and so that was kind of me. Like I'm like watching these things and I'm like, I would watch a 10-minute video and end up with like 50 new terms that I didn't know, and then just spend hours like looking up those terms to understand that one 10-minute video.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely why I created the account. Like I haven't been too great as like far as the educating like content, because I feel like I'm still learning. So it's like I can only tell people what like not to do or what I've messed up on, and I'm still trying to get better at that, because that is my ultimate goal. Like I would love to teach like new hunters and like especially take them out if I can, and like maybe 5 years down the road, I can work with like my Department of Wildlife Resources and like be one of those that gets to take out like new people. Like that would definitely be like my ultimate goal, because this for me has been life changing, and I know it can be life changing for other people.
For sure. That's awesome too, because I feel like a lot of people, like if they were to mess up or anything else like that, they're gonna try and sweep it under the rug or anything else like that. And that's cool that like you're trying to show other people like, hey, like people do mess up. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like, hey, like
Yes,
this is just a
absolutely.
part of the learning process. You know?
Yeah. And that kind of happened. It happened this fall too. Like the only other deer I harvested besides that buck was a doe, and I spined her. Like, and I'd heard other people talk about like their experiences with that, but until it happened to me, like, oh man, like the emotions in the 5 minutes that followed, like I slid down my whole tree, like in my self climber. Like I got down so quick, like, and just yanked my crossbow back, like put another bolt in and took a second shot. Like it was probably within a minute, but like even just like seeing a deer like paralyzed like that, like trying to move and like knowing I just put that animal in pain because I took a bad shot. Um, that's all on me, like 100%, like that kind of guilt I felt, and just obviously tears, so many tears, like,
Right.
and I'm by myself. I'm like, I forgot my knife. I'm like, what do people do? Like, do I, like slit her throat? Do I shoot her again? Like, it was a lot. And I posted about it because like it wasn't, to me it felt like such like a somber harvest. Like I wasn't celebrating like, oh, I just filled another tag. It was more like when I posted it I was like, I fucked up. Like it's just, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
so
But
I
I
try to
mean,
be
like,
definitely like super honest with people.
yeah, but I mean, like, if you're in the woods at any amount hunting, that's gonna happen to you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the deer's gonna duck the string. You know,
Yeah.
you get buck fever, like what you're talking about, and like I don't think anybody can cast a stone. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we've all been there. So like,
Yeah.
good on you for acting quickly. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, so I'll just ask you a couple more questions. But like, what's your goals for this? Is your season still going on?
No, it's over.
Okay. What's your goals for this upcoming season?
Um, I don't know. I've been thinking about it, and I think, I wouldn't even say like another buck. Not saying I wouldn't turn down a buck. Like that's not, but I think it definitely. Um, I do want to saddle hunt, and I do want to self film. I think like although it was in the back of my mind this season, and I did go out with my GoPro like a couple of times, but for the most part, like I just feel like I'm such a new hunter, and it's like I'm there to experience it, not worry about like, oh, is the camera on the right angle? And I struggle with like the social media aspect of that too. Like I don't want to worry about posting. Like I just want to hunt. So like it is hard to find like that kind of balance. And I do want to start my own like YouTube as well. Like but I don't know how to do that. Like so it's just like I'm taking like every kind of step, like just trying to figure it out. But I definitely do like, I think top two goals would be like get in the saddle and get comfortable. And with that, like using my compound like all archery season. So I've already been like putting in like mad work with that. I'm just trying to get up to like 45 pounds because like that's harder than I thought it would be. Like right now I'm at 40. So it's like I'm just trying to put like, yeah, put on that weight. So like I'm at like, the correct like draw weight and hopefully get, past that. But 45 is like the minimum where I want to be. And so, yeah, like self film, saddle hunt. And I mean, I just want to fill my freezer, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are good goals. Those are solid. Yeah, absolutely. With the saddle hunting, I think the only advice that I would have for you is just like just shop around. You know what I mean? Because like they're all
Yeah.
going to be different, and like they all don't feel the same. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think you'll definitely thank your back later on for that. Like once you
Really.
get into
Yeah.
saddle hunting, and it's a lot easier. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's all that I got for you. I appreciate you coming on here. I appreciate your time, and thanks for telling us your
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
If you want
Definitely.
to
I
give a
appreciate the
plug,
opportunity.
yeah, absolutely. If you want to give a plug on your Instagram real quick, like just so people can follow you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's It's so Instagram, it's rookie underscore hunting, and then TikTok, it's the same thing. So definitely give me a follow, and yeah, definitely.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.